So welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing a video on some PC hardware. So we're going to be doing a comparison, the great battle between Intel and Ryzen. We are going to be doing Intel and AMD, and we're going to be doing a comparison of two CPUs that are very similar, as you can see on the screen, which I'm going to pop up now. And we have the i5-9400f and the Ryzen 5 3600. Now, if you guys recently watched one of my videos based on me upgrading my PC, you can see that I have gone for the Ryzen 5 3600 based on personal preference. So I'm gonna try and not be way too biased on my opinion on certain things. So we're gonna go through the facts, and then I am gonna give my own opinion on it, so you guys can see what I think, and then we can carry on, and you guys can get an Intel or Ryzen. It all depends on what you've got as well, and what runs best with certain things. But yeah, let's get into this. So what I'm going to do first is go into each of the websites, so the personal websites for the specific CPUs. So we're going to look at the 3600 first. So you've got this 3600. It's a 3rd gen Ryzen processor, and it comes with a cooler, and I will go through all the details in a second. I will just show you this quickly. This is a really good thing to get if you're buying a brand new processor from AMD, or if you're buying a graphics card from Nvidia, or a graphics card from MSI or whatever. Most of the time they will provide a game or something along those lines. So if you are going to buy something brand new, check the personal website first, because you can always get a free game, which is always great. Boom. So what we're looking at is specifications. So the things that I primarily look at, and what you should look at, is the core count, the thread count, base clock, max boost clock, the to see if it's unlocked, which is basically saying that you can overclock it. If not, if it doesn't say any information on that, check on Google if you can overclock. If it has a fan or a heatsink with it, the wattage that it runs at, and its max temp. Now, these are all things that come together to make your CPU and explain to you what your CPU does. Now, the first thing you want to be looking at really is the core count or the base clock. So we'll go over in order from what it says on the website. So we're looking at the core count. Sorry. This is a 6-core CPU, which means that you're able to run 6 different separate cores. So each core runs a program, for example. I'm going to try and explain it in the simplest way. So you have a Google open, and you have so Google Chrome open, you have a recording software open, and you also have a game open. Those will each be taking a core up, theoretically, and be run on those specific cores. Now, within those cores are threads. Now, this runs 12 threads, so technically 2 threads within those cores. Now, threads are a form of core, but virtual in a way, so you're running on each thread. So for example, Google Chrome could be running off 1 thread, and so on and so forth. However, with Ryzen, they run on separate 12 threads, but then Intel run on boosted threads, I think. I'm not too sure, but I think they run on boosted threads, and that's why most of the situations are that they have less threads. And sometimes I can find that when you're working with something that has less threads, you're unable to do things such as video editing as simply with that processor compared to one with more threads. One with more threads is able to take up a bigger workload and run more things like video footage and stuff like that. So having something with more threads could theoretically make your process of your video editing or anything media based a lot easier. So we have a base clock of 3.6 GHz. Now, the base clock is the speed that the cores run at, and it is basically the running speed that base running speed of what the PC does. So if you have multiple processors open, that's the speed it can run at. Now, I will mention this later with another feature that can allow you to make that a bigger number. But you have the max boost clock here. Now, most people, when they buy into CPUs, they see the max boost clock and they think, oh, I can just boost up the CPU so it's constantly running at 4.2. Now, the max boost clock that it shows you is basically saying when it's running a specific program and that program requires quite a lot of power. For example, if you're running a game and that's the only thing you're running, the CPU will notice that you're only running that game, and it has a special piece of software within the hardware that's like, oh right, so we're only running this program, I will push more power from the CPU that's not being used into that one specific program. So you'll be getting 4.2 gigahertz when running one game and possibly recording. You'll be getting that benefit. Now, you can also do something else which is called overclocking, which this one specific CPU can do, which is you put more voltage into the CPU, which then allows it to have its base clock boosted up, so you get a base clock speed. So when you're running your PC as normal and it's not going, oh, we're running one single program, when you're running multiple programs, you can run it at, for example, 4.2 gigahertz or higher, I'm not too sure. Now, if you're starting out, you don't need to overclock. It's not the greatest idea because you can completely burn out your CPU, and it's one of the most expensive components of your PC, and you don't want to do that. And it could also destroy your board, your motherboard, and so on and so forth. You don't want to be doing that. Just don't risk it until you feel more comfortable to do that kind of thing. You don't need to do it, especially if you've got 3600 or something like that, or an i5-9400, 9400, sorry. You don't need to do that because you will have enough power to run what you need, what is sufficient. But you can do it once you feel more comfortable. For example, I've recently upgraded my PC with 3600 and I haven't seen a need to overclock. There's no need. It runs everything that I need fine, and if I do feel the need to overclock it, then I will, but I don't need to at this point in time, especially within the time that I've been using it. Maybe later on using it, because what can happen is if you overclock it in some situations and the CPU burns out and they take it back and they look at it and they'll be like, oh well, we can't cover this on your warranty because you overclocked it, blah 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 blah. Especially if you change, if it comes with a specific cooler, for example, if it comes with the Wraith Stealth cooler, which this one does, if you put another cooler on it and something goes wrong, you send it to the company and say, oh, can this cover my warranty? They'll be like, well, it's got this cooler on it, so no, it doesn't cover the warranty, sorry, you didn't use the equipment we gave you, so on and so forth. So they'll blame it on your cooler, not the CPU itself, so just keep that in mind. Now, that's really the basis. The wattage and the max temp is something that's key, especially for when you're overclocking, just to keep in mind everything that you have. And it's really good to have that information, and these are kind of base stats for certain things, unless you have like a boosted version of the certain CPU. For example, you can get a Ryzen 5 3600X, which runs at 95 watts in higher temperatures, but you don't want that because well, I say you don't want it, you can get it if you want. I was going to get a 3600X, but in my opinion it's not worth it. You're only getting a slight boost of maybe 1 or 2 FPS when running your games. It's really not worth it. It's the same core count, same thread count. The only thing that's boosted is your base clock, which goes to I think 3.8, and your boost clock, which goes to 4.4. It's not a great difference. You can still overclock it, but still, you might as well just get the 3600 and save yourself like £30, I think. You could get like more RAM or something like that, or a better graphics card. 30 quid to push it. So we're going to go and look at the Intel. Now with this one, you've got with the performance. I don't know about the whole thing about getting a free game with Intel. It's probably very similar. I'm sure they do that kind of thing. I wouldn't understand why they wouldn't do it, but it's a night. So this is the i5-9400f processor. It's a 9th gen processor, and it says, this is funny, so it says that it runs at 4.1 gigahertz up to 1.4 gigahertz, and that's just to catch people out who aren't really looking at their information. So you've got to really read the wording on these things. So what we've got here is we've got the core count, which is 6 cores, threads 6, but going back to what I said, they do run on ultra threads or something along those lines, which I think is supposed to be boosted versions of the threads, which theoretically would be good if you're running singular programs, but if you're trying to do video editing, I would probably say that this CPU is not as good as the Ryzen, which is based on personal preference. But if you want to be doing things like that, I would recommend getting the Ryzen 5 3600. But still, there's 6 threads. Its base frequency, it runs at 2.9 gigahertz, which means that it runs on 0.3 gigahertz less than the AMD Ryzen 3600. A big base situation where you can't actually improve you don't have a better gigahertz, a better processing speed, which is a big difference. Now 0.3 might not sound like a massive amount, but it can make a difference in gaming. And if you're running more programs, blah 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 blah. You've got the max turbo frequency, which is 4.10, which is 0.1, which isn't a massive amount. Granted, I'll give them that. So they come very similar when they go to their max boost. So they're on the line there when it comes to that kind of thing. So you also have the same wattage, and I think it's down here. Also, this also runs on with a DDR4 2666 speed, but for a Ryzen 5, the Ryzen CPUs, especially the 3rd gen, like to be run on 3000 plus. They just run better, but it doesn't mean that they are lackluster when you're running below. It's just that they run better with. So where is it? So they also run on, I think, the max temperature 100 degrees, sorry, which is only 5 degrees more than the Ryzen. However, it doesn't really matter with this one. Now, the temperature is very, very key when you look at the Ryzen 3600 because it is able to be overclocked. However, this specific CPU, the 9400F, which is within the same price range as the Ryzen 3600, is unable to be overclocked. So when it comes to temperatures, the only thing you're really relying on is their running speed of the CPU, and to make sure that they 100% tested it out to see if it won't overheat. Now, that's just based on the company. You can't do anything about that, so you don't really need to pay attention to the wattage or the heat because it's all based locked into one. You can't get into this CPU. But there is a different version of the CPU that I'd like to mention, which is the i5-9400K. Now, if you look at any other Intel CPU, if it ends with a K, most likely means that it can be overclocked. Now, we are going to look over these. So we've looked over them now as they're based on the websites. We are now going to just quickly look on Amazon to check prices. So you've got the i5-9400f, and people, before you go at me saying, oh, you could have got it off this website, you could have got it off this website, I am just going based off what everyone, most likely early beginners and everything, or the most popular shopping website or whatever. You could buy off Newegg, you could buy it off Overclockers, but I'm gonna go and look at Amazon. So we're looking at this processor. So it comes in at So it comes in at a price of £176.66. See, this is very surprising for me. It's on sale, that's why. So on sale at the moment it's 170. So this is the K series, this is the one that you can overclock. You've got this one right here that is on sale, but the actual price is 189, so might as well call it £190. So for the ability to overclock, it's an extra £15. Worth it? I would say so, yes. But yeah, so you can increase this one's overclock speed. I'm just going to have a look at the standard clock speed to see what it is. It's probably the same. Standard clock speed is 3.4. Now, what was on this one? It was, yeah, see, it's a 2.9. So it's already better. So if you are going to look at this CPU, I'd probably say get the K version. It's only £15, but if you can't fit that in your budget, then obviously like you can't fit it in your budget. So let's go on Amazon again, and we'll put in the AMD 3600. Now I'm not comparing the KF, but I'm just mentioning that the KF is probably better. So we'll go back and we'll look at the F standard. So the pricing, so you've got the AMD 3600 is currently priced on Amazon, the RRP as £153.99. Now it is cut price from the standard price tag apparently, according to Amazon, but that doesn't mean that it isn't the average price all round. That's just the retail sale price. So what we've got here, and even if I look at this, I'm pretty sure that's a sale. So this is the price that they're selling it for. You can get it for £159.99, and this is £176. So altogether, let's say this is £154 because it's a penny off, and let's say this is let's just say this is 176. Let's just stick it at that. So in reality, it's £22 more expensive, and you can't overclock it. Great. So if you wanted to buy the overclock version, what's the difference in the price? So you're looking at a price difference of £35 in processor. That is the price of some more RAM. It's the price of a new cooler. It's the price of this and that. And I know it sounds like I'm slating it, but it is the way that I see the Intel series of processors, and most people do know it, especially nowadays with PC building. We can see that a lot of the time that the Intel processors are going to be more expensive. Now this, in my opinion, is the grasp on the market that Intel had, but they no longer really have it because they're slipping to AMD's Ryzen series, and everything seems to be cheaper. It's the way that it works really, and people are always going to buy something that's cheaper, that's putting out more power, and it's crazy what Ryzen are developing and the fact that Intel can't. Now I heard that Intel are stuck in a loop where they can't produce anything better. Well, they are producing things better, but they can't work on the cores as well as AMD can. But all in all, it's the way that it is. It's a competition, and in my opinion, the way that it's working is Ryzen are winning on price for value for money in your product, and you're getting a better product out of AMD. Intel do produce great CPUs, but AMD have got the grasp on it at the moment. Now I am going to show you some benchmark stuff, and you can see that the processor, the i5, and this is all at base. You can overclock the Ryzen 5, so it would probably increase performance, but we will just have a look in comparison between these two CPUs to see where they stand. So we're looking at game FPS here, and you've got CSGO which is running at 1080p and max, and it is running on 233 FPS on both programs as average. Now that's something that really seems to be fairly even. You've got GTA 5, which is running at 6 FPS more than the Ryzen 5, and then you've got the Overwatch, which is running at 7 FPS more, a 5% plus on Overwatch all round. You're looking at PUBG at an increase of 4 FPS and 1 FPS difference between Fortnite. So there's not much of a difference between the two. However, what I am going to say is, on GTA and Overwatch, the thing that I think that will probably stand out to those two games when running them on the two separate CPUs is when this is running at its boost, it is using those super core super threads that Intel use, which put more power into whatever you're using, which will produce better FPS. Now, you can't overclock this one, but you can overclock this one. There it is. If you overclock this one, I'm just saying that you will probably get a better performance out of it compared to this CPU. And if you wanted to overclock, you'll spend another £35 to get a better performance than this CPU alone. So it's a bit of an issue. Now, if you look at these user benchmark stats in the ranking, you will see that it's 88% gaming, it's 85% gaming for the AMD, desktop is 89%, desktop is 87%, workstation is 72%, workstation is 79%. Now, what we're saying here, for instance, is that your gaming is going to be better on this CPU as such, without overclock at base. But if you're trying to do, like I said, anything like video editing or anything media based, music producing, your workstation's going to be running a lot better than what this one does. Now you'll see that your workstation is going to be better here than it is here. And on top of that, just to say, if you also look at this, this shows where the builds come in and where it is used. Now this has much larger range on build use because of its price, because of what it performs, and because of everything and its expandability. You can use it in a high-end PC, you can use it in a mid-range, you can use it in budget. It works out really, really well. And this is something I really like about AMD, and it may sound like I'm going, oh, AMD, but it's not that. I'm not trying to be like that. Now, the memory latency on this is a bit faster and compared, but you do have faster cores because of those in general faster cores, because of the CPU threads, which you're running double the amount. You've got overclock scores which come out so much better on all of these cores. Memory latency is hard to get over, but it does close the gap between the two by literally around 7, closes the gap to 7 points, which is hardly any difference at all. And like I said, the grasp on the market for this CPU is huge. It's still going up and up and up, and this is just a flat line CPU on the market. It's not doing too well. Its resellability won't be very good. This CPU here, the Ryzen 3600, will stay at a decent value and keep its value as it goes up, and it will always be able to go into an older PC if you look towards upgrading your PC sooner than later. Now, it's all good in saying, oh, this is a newer CPU and everything like that, but at the same time, if you look at a CPU that was released 10 months ago by Intel, the price between that Intel CPU and this Ryzen CPU is going to be drastic. And this is what I'm saying about Intel and their prices. And I don't want to really say the same thing about Nvidia, but it is the way that it has worked in such a way that people with budget CPUs can't really, budget builds can't find themselves going out the way and getting an Nvidia graphics card necessarily. You can do it, I know you can, don't start and all that, but what I'm saying is that the AMD market and the AMD graphics cards and all that are much cheaper and work for budget builds. What I want and what I'm hoping is, now I don't hate Intel, I'm just hoping that Intel do work on their prices and bring everything down a bit, because it has great performance value, but its actual value for people's wallets is not great. Now, I think I'm going to end it here and just say my final verdict is that yes, the Intel i5-9400f is great. It is a really good CPU, especially for the price as an Intel CPU, but the 3600 is much better as a bang for your buck because you can overclock it. In these statistics, as average base core processing, it shows that these are both an average, shows that they're both an average, they both average out very similarly. However, you can overclock this one, and if you want to overclock this version, you have to get the K series, which runs in a which runs your bill up by £35 or whatever the conversion is for dollars, or your currency. So it's always negative in the way that you have to spend more money. Now the 3600 is a great CPU, and if you are looking at building a mid-range budget PC or even high-end, but if you were high-end, I'd recommend getting a better one, just saying. But if you are running a mid-range budget PC, do get the 3600. It is a great CPU. But if you are looking at upgrading and you're running on an Intel board and you're looking for something around the same price as the 3600 that's running just as well, do get the 9400, or just save that tiny little bit of money of the £35 and get the 9400K and boost it, because as a boosted CPU, I am going to say that the 9400KF is probably better than the 3600. That is the final verdict I'm going to say. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. I felt like I needed to release a tech video. I'm kind of on, like, trying to work on thinking of putting out different tech videos and build videos, but obviously I haven't got an infinite supply of cash. I can't just build a PC. I am just starting out and everything like that. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the content. There'll be more gaming videos coming. I'll try and do more comparison videos like this, and yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed. If you want someone else's opinion on it, I'd recommend going to Bitwit's channel. You've probably watched him. He's a massive PC building YouTuber. So yeah, go ahead and feel free to watch his video on it and his opinion. But yeah, if you like, subscribe, dislike if you like, Comment what you like, opinions and everything down below. It would be good to hear from all of you guys. Final thing, just going to say, I said it in a previous video, I have a goal set out now to get 100 subscribers. So if you guys can help me by sharing and everything like that, or even just watching the videos, would be great. And if you are watching and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I know there are quite a few of you who aren't. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.